so people know how to join. I create this in Facebook as well. Awesome. Like, seem like we have legit ladies here, guys.
Yeah.
Where are you calling from, Bianca?
California.
That's awesome. And LT, what about you?
Georgia.
Georgia, Atlanta. That's awesome. Someone else like joining right now. And what yeah, so let's give a few minutes for people to join, and then we're gonna do a little bit of introduction. Oh,
So let's see.
that Dean is joining us right now. Did you guys see Facebook down for like 20 minutes or like 30 minutes or even an hour? This morning, I was like freaking out. Morning, I was like freaking out. I was like, maybe somebody stole my Facebook account.
Oh no. I don't have Facebook anymore.
Oh, you don't have Facebook anymore? Instagram?
I do have Instagram, yes.
Yeah, Instagram was down too.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, I heard it was down.
It's a Mark Zuckerberg thing.
Yeah, they're the same. I wonder WhatsApp was down, but I didn't use WhatsApp this morning, so I didn't know. Okay, so I think some reason somebody couldn't join. Uh, so where are you in Atlanta, Bianca?
Oh no, I'm in California.
Oh, are you in California? Sorry, LT in Atlanta. And
Yes.
Bianca, are you in
No, no,
LA?
no. I think yeah, Georgia. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, Georgia, Atlanta. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hi, Dean. Are you connected to audio yet? You guys okay with showing video as well? So we can do a little bit meet and read.
Can I stay blank for today?
You want to stay black for today? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't see Dean can connect to audio.
You
Just
have to click OK, Dean, and then
yeah, I think she couldn't.
unmute yourself.
Yeah, she couldn't. Or maybe she can need to join again. Ah, okay, see it. Yeah. So I'm gonna go around a little bit to introduce everyone to each other. But first, I think I'm gonna ask questions so easier for you guys. Like, what are you like? What are you interested in terms of commercial real estate, and why, and who are you, and where you're coming from, and where are you at on your journey? So
I'll start. I'm interested in investing. Um, I would like to do it with other people to build a portfolio. start with commercial real estate and maybe get into homes.
Oh, so are you investing in real estate right now?
No.
No. Okay. And you would like to invest in commercial real estate first and then homes later?
Yes.
I think like usually all the investors do the other way around.
They do?
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Oh, Arlene said her internet's not working, so she's gonna restart and rejoin.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so Bianca, so usually like for me, my journey is I buy single family house first, and then I realize that it's not scalable,
Okay.
and that's why I invest in commercial real estate and also like with other people, because like together we can leverage each other experience and and capital, and also like capital is just like stronger when you
Mm-hmm.
pull together.
Yes.
Like
And how much when you did you have to put in when you invested with the other people?
yeah, so I so depend on the deal.
Mm-hmm.
There's deal that like minimum is $50,000, and there's deal like minimum is $25,000 to join,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I did. I used my Roth IRA though
Mm-hmm.
for that, and then later on to start with,
Mm-hmm.
and then also like our cash, like me and my husband cash.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And how many people did you invest with?
So it's called it's a syndication. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of people, which I don't know what it's a lot of people because we're buying. Hi, Talena.
Hi. Uh, can you hear me?
Yes.
I can. We can.
Oh, okay. Sorry I'm late. I had some errands to run. I was trying to get back on time.
Oh, no worry. Yeah. Have a little bit issue here and there. Aline does get to join yet because of her internet. Yeah. LT, I can call you. I'm like gonna call you LT.
I'm sorry. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear
Yes.
you.
It's my first time, so please be patient. Um,
No worry.
well, hello, ladies. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I saw this on Meetup, and I am interested in really purchasing homes um, to rent as a, I guess, passive income.
Sounds good.
So uh, you in Atlanta, and are you currently have a house, or you wanna buy a rental property?
Yes, rental properties as a business. Yes, I want to purchase my first one and grow from there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is your market like in your market rental property cash flowing well?
As far as I can tell, yes, the market here is really growing. It's getting really expensive now.
So that's like Atlanta, or like a suburb of Atlanta.
Well, I live in the suburb of Atlanta, but I would like to purchase in Atlanta and around the surrounding areas.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, awesome.
So
And
I'm hoping this group here would help me as far as resources and all. I signed up to learn.
yeah, I mean we can keep you accountable.
Well, thank you.
We're here every week. So um so every week I would like to host a virtual event like this for all of us to join and kind of like keep each other accountable for our goal, and also
Hmm.
like to get to know each other and like providing each other resources to roll from, I don't know, 0 to 1, and then from 1 to 1,000, um, 1,000
Okay.
to 1,000,000, right? So, um, so Bianca, uh, back to you. So you also
Yeah.
want to buy a rental property?
Yes. And I would like to work with other investors too, like you said. I've talked about it with friends, but they're taking their time with it. I'm like, when I start talking about something, I want to do it. I don't want to like just talk about it, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. That's awesome. Like you're the action taker, huh?
yeah.
Among your friends. Yeah, what I found is a lot of my friends don't understand this. So
Mhm.
they either do or they either don't, you know. They like some understand and some don't, and then it's okay if they don't. But then you always can find other people who interested doing the same thing with you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why I think a group of people who think the same thing, like LT and Bianca, you guys like you have the similar goal, right?
Mhm.
Um, so what about you, Talena?
Yes. I'm currently I live in Elgin, Illinois. I live in a property that I purchased as of February 15th of this year made 1 year. I have two 1 bedroom, 1 bath, and live in a studio in the basement. And I have one tenant, and I'm currently renovating the first floor, putting in a new kitchen and bathroom.
Hmm.
So I was trying to see what the group was about and, get to know different people, investors, because I know, it takes, you know, it's a slow process for me
Mhm.
because, I work a regular job. So, and I just use my money from my tenant to uh renovate the first floor. So it's a slow process, and I just wanted to, I hear so many things about real estate that I've listened to, like Bigger Pockets and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
people grow faster when, you have partners and, you know, people on the same level that can give you, information that I might be able to use or need, or, you know, anything that I could share that I might know. So I just want, they say, in order to get ahead, you need to surround yourself by people who trying to do and want to do the same thing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I joined the group.
Talena, where you calling from, and where's the property?
Uh,
I missed that part.
it's outside of, well, it's the west suburb of Chicago.
West suburb of Chicago. And then you said like that, how many floor you have?
I have 2 floors. I
Yeah,
have two one
in the
bedroom, one
basement.
bath,
Uh-huh.
and I live in a studio in the basement.
Mm-hmm. So use house hacking.
Yes.
So they pay all your mortgage?
Well, right now I only have one tenant. My mortgage is what, $2,045. She paid 1,200. So
Mm-hmm.
once I get finish the renovation on putting in a new bathroom and a new kitchen upstairs, it'll be probably 14 to 1,600 a month. So it will cover everything.
Gotcha, gotcha. Uh-huh. Cover all the utilities even. Yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah. basically the heating bill gets a little high, and I want to convert to electric for the cooking. So because the upstairs doesn't have a separate meter for cooking, so I want to convert to electric stoves. That way she pay her own cooking utility. It's included. It'd be on her light bill instead of
Yeah.
me paying it.
So you working a regular job? What do you do for work?
Plastic molding, and then I also work uh side jobs off of apps. Yeah. So
That's
I
awesome.
was off today because I took off today because I had some running around to do. So most of the time I'm working because I know next Tuesday I'll be at work at this time. So
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to join this.
yeah, I wanted to really because I was going when I went, I was out doing my errands. They sent me a job to my phone uh for $27 an hour to dishwash, and I was gonna get it, but I said no. I want to attend this meeting, so I wanted to really see what it was about. So I was like, no, I'm gonna do like I said, take the day off and do my errands and clean my house and attend this meeting. So
Really
that's what.
appreciate the hustle.
Oh yeah, I got to. That's why I say I do it every day. Try to work every day of the month. So that's what I do.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then do you do the construction yourself?
No, I have a maintenance guy that when I bought the building, he was already maintenance guy here. So I have him doing it. I had a property manager. She quit on me like last month. So I don't know. I think because she couldn't make no money off of me the way she wanted to, I guess it wouldn't worth it to her. So until I get
You live in there, right? You live right there. So
yeah.
is it like a townhome or something?
No, it's a building. It was a, I guess you can say, I think it was a single family home converted into 3 units.
So
It's in a
before you had
historical area.
historical.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. So, um, so Bianca, so you
Yes.
say you're in California.
Yes. I'm in California.
Yeah, we're in California, LA.
Yeah, in North Hollywood, so it's just over the hill from LA.
Yeah. So what do you do? What do you do as a main job, and how do you think you're gonna start investing?
I bartend and I made some money on crypto,
Mm-hmm.
so I was gonna use that money.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, crypto is going up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
Mhm.
yeah,
Congratulations.
Thank you. You too. Congratulations
Thank you.
on your first building.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I remember my like first time I bought a house um like on foreclosure, and then I went to the house, and some neighbor called cops on me. So
Wow.
Mm.
cops came, and then I was in the garage, kind of dark, and they come in pointing the gun at me.
Oh my God. These cops are so dumb. Why are they
They pointed
pointing
a
a
gun
gun
at
if you
me.
don't have one?
Yeah, it was in Oklahoma, and then like that house was vacant for a long time, and neighbors just saw somebody going in there, and they called the cops, and I have to show to the cops that it's my property. I
Wow.
just bought it this morning, kind of thing.
Luckily you had the paperwork on you.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like a lot of foreclosure auction happen in every county, and you can buy a house that way. You can go bidding on those foreclosure, um, and 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 buy for a deep discount. The thing is, you don't know how it looks like inside. You don't get to see that property at all.
So you're buying it unseen.
Yeah, you kind of buy it unseen. You can see the outside, like you see the address, right? You can drive by and try to see outside, but you don't know what happening inside until you really have a legal document to allow you to go inside.
And how much
So
did you pay for that property that was foreclosed?
I don't remember. Like I think it's a while ago. It's like 5 years ago. So um like 80 something, and then we flip it, and we sold it for 120 something, 130 maybe.
Okay.
And maybe we made like 15K out of that flip.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
So
pretty
that
nice.
property you said was in Oklahoma?
Yeah, was
And where
in
are you located?
so I'm in Dallas right now, but
You're in
I'm all
Dallas.
over the
Okay.
place. I was living in New York City while flipping that property in Oklahoma City.
Okay. Wow.
And
Yeah,
then
you can do
yeah,
everything electronic signature now, so.
yeah. But I also have a friend there who in Oklahoma City they have maybe 100 units at a time. Now
Mm-hmm.
maybe they grew to 300, but they do a lot of flipping, and I bought it, but they did the work. So it's like partnering up with them
Mm-hmm.
because they know the market really well. They took me to the auction.
Mm-hmm.
I had the money, so I put 20% on that house, which is maybe 20K for me to get into that, and then pay the rehab fee, maybe 10K. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like in using just 30K, I could get into the market already and do my first flip kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because like in New York City, everything's so expensive, and I'm pretty sure
Mm-hmm.
in California the same.
Yes,
So
it is.
yeah, and then you don't know whether you can do this or not. So better experiment somewhere that is cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and also with someone that you like. I do it not by myself, like you, Bianca. I think partnering up with somebody more experienced than us is the key. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Dean is back. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And I'm glad you
Am-
have video on, or everyone
Yeah,
will
I
be
have
back.
video. Do I have volume? Do I have microphone?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay,
you now.
great. Well, I'll mute it until I'm needed. Um, and I just popped in, so where are we at?
Yeah,
Or
we're introducing
okay,
everyone,
okay.
and I think Manny, are you here?
I I'm here, and it looks like LT, Bianca, and Talina,
Yeah,
and
and
yourself.
Manny,
Okay.
and
Oh,
and
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 Manny.
you and me. Yeah. So
Oh,
Dean, maybe
okay.
you go first.
Oh, okay. So I am here in San Marcos. You know where that is?
San Marcos. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm right down the road. You guys are mostly, I guess, in Austin.
Yeah, I was in Austin. I just moved like a month ago to Dallas.
Okay. Oh, wow. So you're way up there now. So I've been doing real estate for about 14 years. It started with buying and flipping and then holding some for rentals, had like 36 rentals, and I had all different kinds of things. And then I ended up doing a lot of owner financing, and then I've sold a lot of stuff. I flipped over 140, so I've done that. And then I ended up doing hard money about 8 months ago, and that's what kind of led me to your site. It had something about money hacks, and I used to be joined up with the private money lending, and they folded us into your operation. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how much overlap there was, but I figured if there's people that need to borrow money, that's probably the main thing that I can put
Mm-hmm.
out there to everybody is I have money to loan on good deals.
Mm-hmm.
All together, me and a buddy, we have about 5 million. We've got 22 projects going right now.
Mm-hmm.
But besides all that, it's always interesting to hear what everybody is doing, and if there's ever anything that I've lessons learned, I can toss them out there. But that's pretty much about me.
That's awesome, Dean. Thank you. Like, so we have a private money lender in the house. So if you guys do any project and making money, then uh, you should show it to your private money lender. And with the experience that Dean has, he'll be able to look at your deals and tell you that it's gonna make money or not, and he will land on it or not. So
Correct. And in the chat, I'll go ahead and put what type of information? An email? Is that what I should put down in the chat?
yeah, so I hope everyone can put their email and
Okay.
phone number. I add people into a WhatsApp group too if
Okay.
you guys wanna talk to each other that way after this. And also like email would be great. So should just stay in touch and oh okay, that's your email.
Okay.
Yeah, I also use private lender and hard money lender a lot of the time when I starting out 5 years ago, and they taught me valuable things because all are really experienced, just like Dean, like 14 years in real estate, so you can learn a lot.
Dean, can you put your email up again, please?
Okay, I sent it on the chat. Where else would I put it? On a whiteboard, or what would I do?
No, you did see it, but it disappeared. I just want to
Okay, let's try it
screenshot
again.
it. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. With my
Um, okay, sure.
Yeah, you can save the chat too. um,
There you go.
Got it.
Oh
yeah,
wow.
and
Whoopsie. Sorry.
Got it.
I I don't know
think
what that is. I didn't mean to put that whiteboard up there. Did that?
I think you share your screen. So,
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to do that. So how do? Okay, I'll just kill this.
or you start the whiteboard and
Oh, I see.
yeah,
No,
thank
that's
you.
okay. I'll just
Yeah.
put it on the chat. That's probably good.
So my thing, I used to do private lending and harmony lending as well, and I use like a broker to do it. So I didn't do it myself, but go through kind of like a broker. But they also online, so they do all the paperwork and stuff, and they charge the borrower 2%, and I get my 12%. So I guess that's what you doing, right, Dean?
Meet myself. So with hard money, I typically will charge around 11% interest and usually 3 points up front. There are 1 year loans typically. The draws are very quick and easy. If you don't have great credit or whatever, it's based mainly on the deal, the property. And so every case is individual, and I'll look at that. And if you have a good deal, that's what really counts. That's where you're going to make your money, and that's where I participate to help you get that under contract, get it purchased, and then have money that you need to renovate it. And that's what we do. So the documents are typically a lien note and then a deed of trust. And whoever you're purchasing from is going to have some sort of a warranty deed, a general warranty deed. You can go through title. You don't have to. Depends on how big it is and how complicated, whether we need insurance and all that. If you're just buying a little lot, a piece of ground, sometimes we can do that without title. But typically in a housing, in a residential building, commercial building, you're going to go through title, and I'm going to provide them those two documents, and you're going to see them for everything else. But the money can get there quickly. We have cash, so we're not, the closings are quicker, happens within days or most 2 weeks. So it's very fast.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you say that, do you land on things like land? So we buy land, if we buy land, put mobile home on and rent out or
Yeah,
sell.
yeah. And when it comes to mobile homes, because mobile homes are so difficult to get banks and institutions to lend on, that's where I think hard money can maybe be very helpful, because if I can assess the value of that and we got something there, let's get it, let's buy it, let's do it cash. Don't worry about some institutions criteria. And then if there's value there, and then you can do your thing. And I've got some of those under contract now. People who have mobile homes on land, people who are just buying mobile homes and flipping them.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
Mhm. And some like I know some people that do that and then have a note like do seller finance just like you did, right?
Yeah, and I've still got 48 seller financing notes ongoing right now. I've probably had about 25 or 30 complete their note, finish their note. So it's something I'm very familiar with. And I've got my retail license from the TDHCA just because I did such volume. They kind of smacked my hand and told me, hey, you need to go get a license. So I did that. So we can do that.
Kind
But
of like
that's what I can.
a mortgage
What's that?
certificate, like when you lend so much and you originate many notes, you have to have
Right,
a
then you have to go through a special mortgage lending type person, yeah, an RMLO or whatever it's called.
yeah, like loan officer kind of
Right.
license.
Yeah, that's true.
So
And you
you
can
have
get a
that.
license to do that as well. It takes a little more time and effort, but you can do that as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. Uh, so if you guys not familiar with that, like Dean, can you show us like for example a single family house, if somebody buy and flip it, let's say how many percent they should put down?
Okay, so you know, my what I've been able to do, when you're talking about whole owner financing, um, it makes sense to me to be charging somewhere around the 9.5, 10%. And that means then that these are shorter term loans, maybe 3 to 10 years at most. But that also means they need to be under 100, 110,000. So we're typically, I don't typically loan on residential homes because they are more expensive. And because banks will finance them. So it's a poor value for anybody to go through owner financing with the home. I feel like, and I think it's a poor investment for a flipper to be doing 5, 6% when their money could do better if it wasn't locked up. So for that reason, all my notes are for pieces of land or home land combos, mobile homes that are under 100,000, which did actually exist years ago, doesn't anymore. And then mobile homes principally. So many of them are mobile homes because um, we renovate them so they're in top shape and they're good to go. But there's a lot to be said about that. So when you talk about residential home, I don't think there's any really that would ever qualify for me from my perspective when I don't know that how it would make sense numerically for someone to hold the financing on it. Neither, but when it comes to you're buying it to flip, then it's a maybe you have to go in cash and maybe you have to go put a lot of effort into it to make it conform to financing, and so that's where the hard money comes in. You buy the home that needs a lot of work, maybe the foundation's troubled, or you just need to get it quick through an auction or something. So you use hard money. It's a 1 year term. What I do is I don't charge interest while you're holding the note. I don't want to put drag on you. I'm not charging anything up front. It's all on the note. So you're going to go to work and you're going to get draws to do the work. And then you're going to finish your work in a few months, whatever. You're going to put it on the market. You're going to get it sold within a year. And then at closing, I'll get paid back. And so that's typically the hard money loan. Those can be up to $350,000 because those are things you're going to go have the buyer get a note from the bank, and I'm going to get paid, and I don't have any trouble with that. So the distinction there is the hard money versus the owner financing. Owner financing is a totally separate thing, set up differently, different interest, different kind of note, full amortization table. They pay every month. But if you borrow hard money, then you're just doing a 1 year no amortization. It's just a balloon that you pay in a year or less, and you don't pay the interest if once you've paid it off. So if you get her done in 3-4 months, the interest rate really didn't hurt you too bad. The points up front is more of is a bigger deal at that point.
So somebody have to pay the point upfront.
No, they
or
don't. They
you
don't
put
pay
it at
anything
the
up front.
back end.
I just put it, on the back end. I just put them up front. Now you have to pay interest on them, but still, that's if it's 3 points and you're doing 100,000, we'll make it simple. That's $3,000. You're going to pay interest on that while you're while you're doing your thing, but that's not a huge part of it because you just borrowed 100,000. That's the one that's really the interest, but you're not paying anything up front at closing. I'm sending all the money to title. You're not paying me every month. You're actually asking me for money. I'm giving it to you. You're using it, and there's a whole thing that needs to be said about how that's done. We can get into that later, how the hard money is administered, how the draws are done. But I can do this without being an institution. Hard money, I can do that without being an institution. I don't have a lot of rules and regulations. I don't have a lot of drag or procedures. I know other hard money lenders have their own procedures and what they put you through. And I get customers that don't like waiting a week or 10 days to get a draw. So they come see me and I take that drag right off of them.
Yeah,
So that's why I have customers that really appreciate what we can do.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So guys, like usually need a good deal, and you know,
Yeah, it's all about finding that deal. It's all about finding the deals.
yeah. And they also have to put some money in, right? So that
It
like
depends. It depends. It depends on how experienced their track record is. It depends on the kind of deal they're getting. If they've got, if they've got 5 flips under their belt and they go find a house that's selling for $70,000 and it's worth 120 just sitting there, then I'm like, I'll put everything in and you don't have to do anything. If you're inexperienced, I don't know, how well you can execute things, and this thing is kind of marginal. It looks like, yeah, there's probably it's 30, it's maybe 15-20% below market, then I'm going to be a little more nervous, and we're going to have you put a little skin in at the purchase time. Yeah. And that's because if you don't know what you're doing and I end up holding the bag because you don't know what you're doing, then I've got to go flip a house, and I don't want to do that. I'm in the money lending business. So,
yeah, you're in the business of lending money. You're not in the
right.
business.
Yeah. If you turn me into a renovator, then I'm not going to be as happy. So that's why I need to make sure if it's marginal that you're going to be invested somewhat. But we can any deal we can make happen if the numbers are there, and that's all about finding that good deal. I think that's everything is you make your money when you find the deal.
So Dean, so most of the how many note that you're gonna generate will be like 1 year, right?
That's typical by default 1 year, because if you're flipping a house, you really shouldn't take more than that. Now, I've had instances, especially in the last year, where I've extended, 3 months and maybe another 3-month extension. Why? Because the market,
Yeah.
was tough to sell things. What they realized, they had to keep reducing the price. And you know what? A couple of them are underwater. And so they had to come in at the closing with money. And that's very rare. But when you have a large house in this economy and it's at the 500K price point, you just find out that they're not selling very well. And so there's different sad stories, but most of them are, when people flip, it's almost always going to work. But if you build a new construction and you were too high, it was a high value, a price point over 500, then, and I'm talking San Marcos. So I don't, Austin, you have to add 30% to everything. But if you sold around Canyon Lake and things were over $400,000, they just weren't selling. So I had to extend their notes, and some of those people got in trouble. So, but everything else, no, people can sell them and get it all done within a year. Typical flip, you want to get in and do your thing, put it on the market. If it's right price, it'll go under contract within 2 months. And right now, if you're under 300K in these counties, Caldwell, Comal, Hayes, Guadalupe, if you're under 300, that's a great price point. They're still selling. We still have a good market for that. If you're over 400, it just depends. It can be tricky.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. LT and Bianca and I guess Talana is fixing her own rental property up. Bianca and LT, they wanna buy rental.
Yes.
Yeah. And honestly, like rental also hard these days. Rental sometimes doesn't cash flow unless you find like cash flowing property in the Midwest or something. Then I think it's worth doing. A lot of these property, like right now not really cash flowing. If you aim for cash flow, but cash flow is not always just the name of the game. Like there's equity and appreciation.
Right.
I'm gonna ask Dean like how much money you make in cash flow and how much money you make in appreciation, and through your 14 years of experience,
Yeah,
what makes
it's
you the most money?
yeah. Well, most everything I did was lower valued properties. I did buy a fourplex in Canyon Lake once, and I got it at a good price, but it wasn't a steal. It was just a good price. I actually held that property for about 7 or 8 years, and that's one of the few properties I actually financed. Most things I just hold cash, but this one I leveraged, which was good because money was cheap at the time. And so one could look at that and say, oh, that's a pretty good investment. I'm making, 10% on my return if you just look at the rental income versus my expenses and all that. But then when I went to go sell it, because I bought it back in like 2009 and I sold it in 2021,
Mm,
it had gained about probably 40-50% in value. So that was an odd circumstance of that time period. And so I looked and I saw, wow, I made as much in equity gain as I did in actual rental profit, which it was a fourplex. It was profitable. But so I said, I made what, 9% on my return there, but then I made another 9% per year, like over that time, like it would have been the same as making 9% a year over that period of time. So the equity can be good, but it depends on the market's ups and downs, like the stock market. So yeah,
so it's
you
kind
can.
of
But
like
I also want to say that I think it has to do with ratios.
mm,
And a lot of us here might be starting out. We don't have a lot of money. And that's not a bad thing because I think the rentals are going to do better in the cheaper properties. The cheaper it is. When you get into a higher value property, like she was like you were saying, you get more in the equity gain, but you don't get that much cash flow. But I think you can see your cash flows come closer to par or positive when you have a lower value property. Maybe you bought it really smart. Maybe you bought it, you fixed it up, and you rent it out. And then again, mobile homes. I mean, mobile homes are like little boxes that spit out cash. I mean, you almost always flow positive with them. That's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I think in a word, it's the market, whether you're going to, the equity is going to be there. If you buy in a down market and sell in an up market, it can be substantial. But just every day, if you want it, you need to go with a lower value property to get a high ratio for what you put in and what you're getting out. And of course, leverage. And right now, the financing isn't great, so um, that's another consideration.
yeah. So have you loaned on any commercial um property, or did you do anything commercial property? What's
I only had an experience once with I bought 3 commercial properties at one time, and it wasn't typical, so there wasn't anything that I can really say about that. It was just something where I bought it and I sold it very quickly. I made a little bit, so I don't really have commercial experience. That's just not where there's so many things that you can do in real estate, and everybody can find a niche that they love. And I hear all these good things about multifamily and all that, but it just wasn't what I did. I did smaller stuff and land, a lot of land, and a lot of mobile homes and mobile homes on land. So that's where when I flipped, that's what I did and made just a ton of money. And a lot of the money was made because I'd buy the mobile home, let's just say typically, $10,000, $11,000, put maybe with labor and everything 6,000-7,000 and sell it for twice that, and then owner finance that at 9.5%. So uh, at the end, I had 3 times what I put into it. Well, that's a small potato, but when you do 7 or 8 of those a year, those become that's substantial. And then and then when you hold some and rent them and then sell them, that's my market. That was my niche, and it's what I did. So
yeah. I saw people, yeah, the like almost like the rich is in the niches, right? Like find their sweet spot and just keep doing the same thing over and over again and just double
right.
down on what you're good at.
And
And
but you do have to realize that the market is going to wheel around. It's going to change. So your niche may change. It may be sweeter at times than others. And one of the things I was able to do was to switch niches. Like when I started out back in 2009, you remember the HUD foreclosures were a big deal.
Yeah.
And you can go in and you could get a house very cheap because the market just was on its back. And so everything, and there weren't all these flipping shows, and people weren't wise to all this stuff. It was a new thing. And so you could just go in there and just buy properties at like half of what the people paid for them for cash. That was back in 2009 through about 2014. Then it was starting to be the flip shows on TV. Everybody, the sharks were swimming, there's blood in the water, and then everything went up. But you could go to an auction in 2010 or 11, and there'd be a few people out there, and you could
Yeah.
just stick your hand in there and buy things for half price, and then if you had cash. And that was one niche. That's where I started. And then later on, when they got wise to that and there's too much competition, then I had to say, well, this auction thing's not paying out as good, so it has to be mobile homes or land or something else.
Mm.
So I would say you have a niche, you work it, and then it could that honey hole could dry out, and you have to be ready to be flexible. But if
Right.
you that's the other side of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me also, I started trying different things, wholesaling, flipping, bought rentals. Like I have a sixplex in Oklahoma City. And then it's interesting with the sixplex because I bought it for like $30,000 per unit. And it was they was paying like 400 per unit. And I go in, I was like, why 400? Like the rent in the area is already like 550, 600. And I pushed the rent up. Um, and when I sold it, which is 18 months after that, I was selling it for $45,000 per unit because the rent I pushed to 600.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why it lead me to where I'm at now, like in multifamily, because I think that like, oh, that's the similar thing that they do in 200 unit or 150 unit. They do similar things.
Hmm.
Um, but they did like I didn't do a really heavy rehab. And I think that if I did a really heavy rehab, it would push me slower and also harder to make that amount of money that I made
Hmm.
on that property. So it's like light cosmetic, easy rehab is a thing.
I think that's true. And I think that sometimes people who watch a lot of TV and they see the massive rehab and all the work that tearing out walls and putting all that money in. And I think that they have to realize that many times your best money is made for your time is made with something that just needs a cosmetic,
Yeah, yeah.
cosmetic, because it's about volume and your time and
Mhm.
getting in, getting out, and you're adding some value, but you're not spending so much time and money on it. So my numbers have always been that I've put probably um, less than 25% of the value of that home as far as
Mm,
renovation. And that was the
mm,
sweet spot. Most profit came then. If I was staying in that renovation for 6, 8 months, putting a lot of time and effort, the profits weren't there based on the volume. I could have done three in the same time. And, you know,
yeah,
so yeah, I agree. I think that, you can't get into the heavy, heavy stuff. And especially if you're new, you want to start out with quick wins like anything. You want to get a good win under your belt. You want to feel good. You don't want nightmares and sleepless nights. You want to say, hey, yeah, okay, it was a small potato, but I won. You'll learn from it. You go to the next one. And I don't know how many of these folks, Bianca, LT, I don't know, Talene, I don't know how many of them are new, but I'd say for a new person, it would be get the quick win. Don't go for the big, rehab.
yeah. Yeah, I heard that as well. And then now I see a lot of newbie ask me, oh, like I want to do flipping. I was like, you new and you want to go right into flipping? That's too much. Don't
Mm.
do it. But then it's the most popular. It's it's the most view on TV and
Yeah.
everywhere, because it's just dramatic
Hmm.
thing that
Yeah.
should show like drama. So it's easy
Sure.
for TV to show, right?
Yeah.
It's not boring. Like now I'm just like wanting to do something boring.
Yeah.
And boring, but make money, and it's just slow,
Right,
and just keep
exactly.
making money
Takes
and
your time.
boring,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Right.
Talena, do you have a question? I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about what you were saying when you bought the building and everybody was paying like 400, and that's how when I bought mine, I did well. When I came to see it, I told the previous property manager that I would purchase it, but I didn't want the second floor tenant. She had to be gone. I kept the first floor tenant, and he was paying like 925. So I knew he couldn't really afford the big jump that to come to market price. So what I did was I agreed with them. I told them they can stay and they can keep the 925 for 6 months. But after 6 months, I'm taking it up $100 because they did not have a lease. So, I told them, and then so they started paying the 1,025, but I also had to compromise with him because he couldn't afford to pay it all at one time at the beginning of the month. So every 2 weeks he gave me I think 525 and then 500, So I agreed to that. And he paid on time and everything. Then once I got my property manager and she got me my tenant on the second floor, which was paying the 1,200, we kind of like forced him out because, she told him, she said, well, this apartment is worth 1,400, and if you can't pay that, then you're not gonna be able to stay. So within a couple of months, we had him out. So that's why now I have my first floor. I'm renovating, putting a new kitchen and bathroom in. So I understand when I can relate to what you were saying. They were paying under market price, and because that's a pretty big space up there, and they was only paying 925, and they was half paying the other property manager. So I was like, I need my money, but I'm willing to make arrangements so that you can afford to pay, you know. That's what I did.
You slowly you ease them into paying the higher rent. That's what you did.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I didn't
smart.
want to come in being a bully because I wanted that half, whatever they had, because I used that to do my thing that I want to do is like turnkey.
Mm.
And this was turnkey. And I did little work. I used his money to do little work. I put in new blinds, a new kitchen floor upstairs, in the upstairs apartment to get it the way I wanted it. They had already had new stuff up there. Everything was new. So that helped a lot. That helped a lot. Everything was new except his apartment. So that's why I want to put the new. I know that's what attract people, especially women. A
Yeah,
nice
new kitchen.
bathroom and a nice kitchen.
Yeah, yeah. And women
So
makes the decision to stay or not to stay in that
right.
apartment. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's really kind of like what I want to continue to do. Turnkey. Um, because right now, like I say, I don't have like stacks. When I say stacks, I mean money.
Yeah.
Like sitting around. So I got to work
Oh,
on my
yeah.
paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
and,
awesome.
and my tenant rent. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Talena. Like, there's another so it's just another few minutes. I want to thank you to join this meeting, and Bianca and LT, you guys like starting out. So I wish you all the best luck.
Thank
Manny,
you.
we haven't heard from Manny yet. So this is your 1 minute chance, Manny, to speak up. I ask Manny to unmute. Yeah, there's some technical issue there. So Dean also couldn't unmute himself. So yes, maybe happened with Manny as well. And Jay is like my assistant. So uh okay, guys. So thank you so much for today. And I'm gonna do a little bit exercise okay? And we're gonna all say things like, okay, I'm gonna ask you how you doing, and you're gonna say great if you don't know the answer. And I'm gonna ask you whether you want to win, and you say yes. Okay, let's do it together. How are you doing?
Great.
Great.
Great. Yeah. One more time. How are you doing?
Great.
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 Great. Do you want to win?
Yes.
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 Yes. Do you want to win?
Yes.
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 Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for joining our first virtual meetup. I hope I'll like we'll be doing this every Tuesday, and I hope it attract different people, different levels of experience, so we can all connect and learn from each other. And thank you, Dean, today for sharing. Thank you, LT,
Thank you,
Bianca,
Dean.
Anna. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay in touch, guys.
Bye bye.
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 All right. Have a great day.
Bye.